Well, howdy folks, Cumberland Outdoorsman here with you today, and today is June the 28th. It's a Sunday, and we had some wind earlier today. I wasn't sure if it was going to rain or storm or whatever, but it's calmed down this afternoon. So I decided to get out and do a little hiking in the woods and see if I could find some mushrooms. Now you're probably wondering what kind of mushrooms, because traditionally mushroom time, especially here in Tennessee, is in the springtime for morel mushrooms. But the ones I'm talking about are chanterelles. There are 3 different species here in the hardwoods of Tennessee, and around the middle to the end of June is the beginning of the season for these mushrooms here. And I find them most years when there's good rainfall. So come along with me and let's see what we can find. We had some rain earlier this week and yesterday, so maybe there'll be some to be found here in these woods where I normally have found them in the past. In order to be able to find mushrooms, no matter what you're looking for, you need good rainfall. I mean, at least average rainfall. If you have a drought, you're not going to find anything. But this last week or two, we've had some steady rainfall overnight, several days, so there should be some mushrooms around. Anyway, I want to go over here on this hill and look, and usually I've found some over there and then some over here. We'll come swing back around and look over here just in case some have popped up, and when I find the first colony I'll be sure to let you know. So come along with me, like I said, and let's see what we can find. Well, I went over to that other hillside there and I found a single mushroom. I'm not sure what happened over there, but it looks like a bulldozer has gone through there and made a trail. I don't know if that affected the growth of those mushrooms or not, but anyway, I came back over to this side, across the valley here, and I found the first little colony, and here they are. These are golden chanterelle, and a few of these have already dried up. There's one over there, base of that tree. And incidentally, I'm back in the same woods that I was when I made the first video regarding these mushrooms. So anyway, we're going to harvest these real quick, and then we'll look a little bit further over. There should be some more growing going up the hill there. Okay, when I harvest these mushrooms, whether I'm hunting morels or chanterelles or boletes or any other kind of mushroom, I always use a mesh bag like this. This is just an ordinary laundry bag. I think I picked that up at Walmart. And also, just like with morels, I'm sure I covered this in the first video, but use a pocket knife, and you just want to cut the stem off at the bottom, just like that. Leave the roots, which are called the mycelia, intact. That way these mushrooms will come back year after year, as they have for me. Tell you what else, it also saves you a lot of cleaning later on, because you're not dragging the dirt and everything from the forest floor into your mesh bag when you harvest. Something else that's also important to mention, you're going to be kneeling down on the forest floor here. It's important to spray down with some bug spray. I use Repel or Deep Woods Off or whatever, because this time of year there are ticks and chiggers roaming around on the forest floor here. Chiggers are one of those critters that you can't really see too well, but what they'll do is they'll burrow under your skin, and they cause a terrible itch, a real bad whelps, and they'll drive you crazy. They're just as bad as a tick bite, so be sure and spray down. And it probably wouldn't hurt to treat your clothes, your socks, and your pants, and maybe even your shirt with permethrin. And what that does is, when a tick or a chigger or anything else like that gets on the clothes, it actually kills them. So anyway, let me go ahead and finish. I'm going to get that one mushroom, and then we're going to look up the hill there and see what we can find. Well, I came across this little valley right here, and I see a few more mushrooms over there, but I found a small colony of smooth chanterelles here. So I figured I'd come in here and pick a few of these. The reason I like to use these mesh bags is because the spores from these mushrooms, even though you can't see them, everywhere you go, you're spreading spores throughout the forest. And that could potentially mean more mushrooms for you in the future if you come back, wherever you hunted them. Well, that last site I just came from yielded a few mushrooms, just not as many as is normally encountered there. That may just be the beginning for this year. You know, that may produce more as the summer goes on and we have good substantial rainfall. But anyway, I came over the hill and I thought I'd come down here where I've found them in the past, and sure enough I came over here and I found a big colony right here. These are all nice and fresh too. There's some pretty good sized mushrooms in there. Probably well over 100 of them here. So I'll pick out some of the choice ones and harvest those. These are all smooth chanterelles, but like I say, they're choice eating as well. These are all good to eat. There you can see by the coloration they're nice and fresh. They're not dried out. They're in really good condition. So let me go ahead and pick these and we'll move on. There's another place I'd like to try out. Speaking of edible mushrooms, I know for sure that these are all edible. But there is one look-alike that you want to avoid, and that's called the jack-o'-lantern. Now I covered this in the first video if you watch it. Here's a beautiful example of a chanterelle. This is a smooth chanterelle. You see how the edges are wavy on these? They have like a wavy pattern, and they have these flattened gills at the bottom. That's how you can tell it's a real chanterelle and quite safe to eat. The jack-o'-lantern has sharp gills, you know, just like you'd see in most typical mushrooms. They're real thin and sharp gilled, and usually the edges are perfectly round. You know, they're, well, not perfect, but they don't have that wavy edge. Okay, and a lot of times they cup over. But I'm going to go ahead and harvest these, like I said, and we'll move on. It's starting to get a little bit late, but I'd like to get these in the bag and get them home and get them cleaned. I'll go over that some more in case I do run across some jack-o'-lanterns to show you more solid evidence of what you should avoid and what's safe to keep. One thing that's worth noting is that things change in the woods, okay? Remember one of my squirrel hunting videos from last fall, I mentioned that we had a really strong wind that was county-wide, and it knocked down a bunch of trees like that. I mean, these are big red oaks, and some areas got hit much harder than others, but it's going to affect a lot of things, you know, everything from hunting mushrooms to hunting deer and turkey and small game. So when things change in the forest, whether it's from development or from natural occurrences like this, it's always worth taking note what kind of an effect that it has on the environment and on the animals that live in it. But anyway, I'm going to head on back. I'll probably continue this video tomorrow morning and hunt another section of woods on some property that I've got. There's a few colonies there I'd like to check on. Should be able to find some mushrooms there. Now, there's still a few more localities here that I'm going to check on the way back where I found mushrooms in the past. So we'll check those out, and if I run across them, I'll turn the camera back on. Making my way back, I ran across a mushroom here that you should avoid at all costs. Okay, it doesn't look anything like a morel or a chanterelle or anything like that. This one here, this mushroom here is deadly poisonous. Okay, it'll kill you. And that's it right there. That's called the destroying angel. And there's several more. There's one there, some over there. They have a thin stalk, and they have a small skirt there, and they're pure white. Okay, you want to avoid these at all costs. Never eat anything that you're not 100% sure of, but one thing, I avoid these type of mushrooms. They're deadly amanitas. The other one that occurs here also is called the death cap, and rightly so, because they're deadly poisonous. Like I said, they're deadly poisonous. I mean, they're probably deadlier than a rattlesnake bite. Once you get the toxins from one of these mushrooms in your system, there's really not much hope for you. But we're not going to focus on those. We're going to focus on good mushrooms. But I just wanted to point out that there are some deadly mushrooms that occur just about anywhere you hunt mushrooms. And the ones to avoid are just as important to learn as the ones that you want to harvest. Okay, so only get what you're 100% sure of. If you're not sure of it, don't take the chance. You know, it could cost you your life. But anyway, let me head on back. There's should be another colony right up here, and maybe up on the hill. And if there's a few mushrooms there, we'll gather those as well. Coming back up through the woods, I noticed this beetle on the side of the tree here. This is the giant stag beetle. This is one of North America's largest beetles, and I noticed it going up this oak tree. You can see here I've been messing with him, so he's kind of reared up in the defensive position here. And the males have these big mandibles, and they're like deer antlers. You know, they got big horns, and they actually fight one another over females using these mandibles. Stag beetles are common throughout much of the hardwood forests in the world, and I've seen them in Europe, and this is a species here in North America called Lucanus elephas. This is North America's largest stag beetle, and it's also a very desirable beetle for collectors. And if you know anything about me, you know that I collect insects, so I know a little bit about these beetles that live in these hardwood forests. And occasionally you run across these, but usually you see them at night around lights like mercury lights and things like that. But they usually come out in mid-June into July when the weather's hot. That's when they're most active, and they fly at night. So anyway, just thought I'd point that out. That's something you don't see every day. and it's quite rare to find one during the daytime. Well, good morning, folks. Back in the woods again, and still in search of some more of these chanterelle mushrooms that occur this time of year. Like I said, it's a summertime mushroom, and if you like to get outdoors and get away from everything, this is a good activity. About the only thing that you can do otherwise is maybe camp or hike, but if you're going to hike, you might as well look for mushrooms too. You know, I hate to bring it up, but there's so much going on in this country now, and probably worldwide too, that I'm just fed up with it, and I just have to get out here to kind of like recharge my batteries, get away from people, you know, get away from the chaos and all the trouble and strife. So, you know, for me, there's no better activity than to get out in the woods, get out in nature where there's peace. And, you know, I just wish people would get along. But anyway, I'm going to make my way down here through these woods. These are the same woods that I was in when I was turkey hunting. And back in the past, I found chanterelle mushrooms here before, you know. And there should be a really good patch just over that other hillside there. And I know there's a few more along this drainage over here. You know, just have to get out and look. Have to go check it out. That's the reason I'm here this morning. I wanted to get out before it got too hot. It's kind of warm already, but it's not unbearably hot like it normally gets here in the summertime. Well, when you get out in the woods like I do quite often, and you're out here foraging for wild edibles like mushrooms and whatever else you like, you know, if you like to pick berries or whatever, try to take note of any wildlife sign that you see. I remember back during turkey season, I sat up here and I noticed white-tailed deer coming right through here in this part of the woods, and also some right behind me. And just as I was coming over this ridge here, I noticed there's some fresh sign right there. There's some deer droppings right here on the ground. So that tells me these deer have been through here within the last day or so, you know. My guess is they're going right up through there, right over that ridge there. Or they could have been coming through there, or coming around here foraging. There's a perfect tree right there to get in. You know, you could trim a little bit of these branches, get you a stand put up right here. Catch these deer just as they come through here. Get in here before daylight gets set up, good and quiet. Should be able to harvest a deer right here during bow season. But anyway, I just wanted to point that out in case you're a hunter, you know, a deer hunter or squirrel hunter or whatever. Look for this stuff while you're out. And it'll help you in the upcoming hunting season. Okay, right by that black oak tree right there. Actually, it's a red oak, but that's where I found the deer sign. I walked down here, and I've encountered first mushrooms of the day. There's one there. Several up in here. One there, one there. Oh yeah, they're really in here now. There's a big stand of them. Normally this place produces more mushrooms. I have seen this whole place here covered in chanterelles. There's some right there. Should be some over here too. I have found them over here. Let's see. Some years are just better than others. Oh yeah, there's some. As I was saying, some years are just better than others in producing these wild edibles. You know, it all depends on the rainfall and weather conditions, temperature. Not much here. There's some further down. There's one there. There's one right there. Another one right over there. A few more there. Anyway, I'll gather some of these, get the freshest ones, and then I'm going to head over that ridge right there, see what's over there. Well, folks, in the past I've come in here and completely filled this bag just in this one location, okay? For some reason there's just not that many out this year. I thought that from the recent rainfalls that there would be more in this whole area right here, because I have found this whole hillside here just covered in them, and I mean some big ones too. But you know, like I said, some years are better than others. I'm going to gather a few more over here, and then, like I said, we're going to move on to that next ridge over there. Okay, I just came from right over there, and I found a few more mushrooms and came through here. Here's something I want to point out, especially if you're a deer hunter and you're looking for sign and a good place to set up for deer hunting. Right here there's a trail. It's a well-worn trail. It goes right through there, and then it branches off that way and that way, okay? But right here, this is what I would call kind of a pinch point. Deer don't want to have to come across that and come up. They'd rather come around something and travel to get to where they're going. So, you know, if you could set up in one of these trees up here, that one right there is perfect if you're a bow hunter. Just make sure you're on the downwind side of this. You'll catch these deer traveling right through here, because you got two trails coming together, two or three right over there, and then you got one coming this way and one coming off that hill there, and they concentrate right here. Okay, right here. I don't know if the camera's picking that up, but that's a good deer trail right there. I don't see any sign further up there. It's more down here because they know they're hidden here in this lower area. So, you know, that's something to look for while you're out here. And it's something good to remember when deer season arrives. Keep these places in mind because they will help you in the future. Well, I came from back over that way and worked my way down through here. And I used to find mushrooms here in the past, and there are some here I can see. And here's a young patch right here. Several chanterelles right here in this one spot. And I see a few more here and there. Not many. I just came from right there, probably, what, 25 yards away. And I walked over here, and look what I found. Chanterelles everywhere, right here in this one location. These are easier to spot than morel mushrooms because of their color. They kind of stand out from forest leaf litter on the floor and also the vegetation. But these here look pretty fresh, so I'm going to gather some of these here. Not all of them. See, there's some right there. Walk right past those. Anyway, there's a good batch here, and I'm going to check one more spot on the way back. Well, folks, that pretty much does it for me today. It's starting to get kind of hot, so I decided to take a little break. I came up here on the cool side of this ridge to catch a breeze. Anyway, I'm sweating it out pretty good right now. One thing I failed to do was bring some water with me, so I'm quite thirsty. So I'll be heading back home, and when I get to the house, I'll probably drink about a quart of water because I'm really thirsty right now. In regards to the mushrooms, though, I'm finding roughly 1/3 or so in the amount of mushrooms that I normally find here in these woods. And most of what I found, nearly all anyway, are the smooth chanterelles, which is fine. I like the golden chanterelles the best. They're my favorites. But the smooth chanterelles are quite good and barely distinguishable in flavor. They're a little bit chewier, a little tougher when you're cooking them, but not by much. You know, once you cook them down, they're all pretty much the same. What I did is I cut this one in half, or to re-emphasize the point that the only real poisonous look-alike to chanterelles is the jack-o'-lantern. And in most cases, you know, the chanterelles have these wavy edges, almost like a frayed edge, especially when they get a little bit older. Where jack-o'-lanterns actually have a more rounded edge to them. It's more uniform, and it kind of cups over to a rounded shape like. And also the way they grow, you know, I covered most of this in the first video, so if you have any questions as to what the jack-o'-lantern actually looks like, I didn't find any today or yesterday. But if you have any questions as to what they look like, I've got some in the first video. They usually grow on the sides of old dead stumps, or where a tree has been knocked over and the root ball is hanging up. That's usually where you'll find jack-o'-lanterns. Chanterelles, they grow more, well, they actually do, they grow on the ground. Or you'll find them on moss sometimes, but usually they're in colonies on the ground and not in bunched up clusters together like the jack-o'-lantern. Sometimes you'll find a chanterelle that has 2, sometimes 3 growing out of the same base. I think I've got a few here. I don't know if I can find them right now, but you know, you'll see them grow together sometimes, you know, like that, where you'll see 2 together on the ground. That doesn't mean it's a jack-o'-lantern. That's just the way chanterelles grow. And from what I can tell, things are still a little bit dry. I'm seeing a lot of little ones, you know, so maybe if we have some rain throughout this week, the following week there'll be more. You know, you'll see more coming up because I'm seeing some little tiny ones coming out of the ground. But mostly I'm finding them in scattered groups here and there. You know, I'm having to walk more to the localities where I know they occur. But occasionally I'll find a good bunch of chanterelles like the ones in the last, that last encounter in the video. So anyway, like I said, I got to head home. I've got some chores to do. I still got some grass to mow today, and you know, got a few other things I need to take care of this afternoon. I'll get these mushrooms put up. This is what I found today. About the same amount as I found yesterday, so you know, that'll make a good bunch. Normally when I come in these woods, I'll fill this whole sack all the way to the top, you know, completely full. This sack here pretty much needs to be replaced pretty soon because it's got some holes in it from where it's snagged on branches and briars and stuff, but it'll do for now. But in regards to getting out and getting in the woods, like I mentioned, I don't like to get involved in political discussions, but I just can't help but, you know, relay the point that if you want to get away from all the ruckus and the rioting and all the trouble in society, you know, we want to leave that behind for a while. Getting out in the woods like this is a great activity. You know, it's good exercise. Believe me, I'll shed a few pounds walking up and down these ridges. And you know, when you build up a sweat and get those toxins burnt out of you. But then, you know, sometimes I sit back and take a little siesta, a little rest, and I'll lean back against a tree and close my eyes, and I can hear the breeze going through the trees. I hear birds in the background. I hear somebody's chicken way over there. They got some chickens. And occasionally you'll hear a car go by, you know, up on the road. But you'll get out here and what you find is an escape from all that, you know, from all the trouble. Because the country's in trouble right now, folks. I'm 56 years old now. I was just a little kid back in the 60s, late 60s, when all the racial riots were going on back then. And I didn't really understand it then because I was too young. But I've never seen it as bad as it is now in this country. But, you know, like I say, if you want to get away from that, at least enough to get a break, find you a place like this, and you'll find peace and tranquility. This is what's good for you, you know, getting out in the fresh air, get some walking, some exercise, and clear your mind from all those troubles. And that's what I do. You know, if you like to go fishing, get out on the lake and get away from everybody, that would be my advice. You know, get away from everybody. And also, you know, with COVID-19 going on, it's a good thing to get away from everybody anyway. If you socially distance yourself from people, your chances of getting it or spreading it are greatly reduced. You know, so that's what you need to concentrate on. Just keep your distance from people. And I have no trouble doing that, believe me, because I'm an outdoorsman as it is. So I get out here and get away from everybody. But anyway, listen, if you like the video, hit the like button, and also hit the bell icon and subscribe. That way you'll know when more videos like this will be coming your way. And until next time, get out there and enjoy the great outdoors, you know. It's a good place to be. So we'll see you next time, folks, and stay safe. Take care.